Forward to this. Hey, Keen Wife Mom Boss. Welcome back to another episode of the Keen Wife Mom Boss podcast with our special guest, Jenelle Thompson. Jenelle the pastor, Jenelle the author, Jenelle the coach, Jenelle the model. I'm so excited to have her on here with us, sharing a little bit about her life and what she does and how she impacts the world and the women around her. It's so funny because we were just both talking about our kids are both graduating this year. And I was like, girl, I'm gonna be crying with you. I'm gonna be crying with you. I feel like I've been having these moments of like choking up all year long every time I realize that this is the last time for this particular child that we're going to be doing this particular thing. And I didn't realize that your son was about to graduate.
Yes, yes. I can't believe it either. I'm just like my baby, my baby. Oh,
And I tell everybody like my one that's graduating, she's my sanity. I
oh,
got two boys, and then I got the 2-year-old, and y'all done heard the stories about the 2-year-old. And so I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when she's gone, but it's gonna be fine. I'm so excited for her to get out and just enjoy her life and the next part of her life. So that's exciting, right? That's the
yes,
exciting part of it
yes.
to watch them take that step. So I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, who you are, where you live, what your home life looks like.
Sure. Okay. So it's funny how when you introduce me, I'm so used to everyone always leading in with Janelle the model. But it's so funny when you were like Janelle the pastor, I was like, wait, who? But no, yes. So I am, of course, Jenelle Thompson. As Clemetra said, I am a pastor. I'm a wife. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's hard to think of all the things that I am and what I do. Um, I'm also a coach. Let's see. Of course, I'm a mother. I'm a daughter, and I'm just a servant and daughter of the Lord. That's like the one that I just love the most. So that's what I
Oh,
do. I live here in Philadelphia. It's gloomy outside right now. I am needing some sun and some warmth. So that probably won't come around until like June because the weather up north be acting like it's on something else. But no, so yeah, I live in Philadelphia. I'm originally from New York, so I'm a transplant, but I can officially call Philadelphia home because I've been here almost 20 years. So,
wow.
yeah, so well, yeah, almost 20 years because my son, he'll be 18 in June. So we moved to Philadelphia from New Jersey when he was just turning 2. So yeah, so I can officially say that Philly's my home now.
That
Yep.
is beautiful. I love that girl. I think you could have said that a long time ago. You've been there a long
Yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, and at what point do you say now that's my home? But yeah, because you know
Yes.
why I can say that because now I'm starting to say certain things that are people say in Philadelphia. So yes, I've kind of adapted the dialect a little bit.
I got you. I got you. So you starting to mix in a little bit with conversation, like the dialect, and really feeling
Yes,
like, okay, I got you. I
yes.
got you. So you said it's so hard to like differentiate or to like try to name out all of the things that you are. And I feel like a lot of the times that is something that is just a thing with the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. Like you wear a lot of hats
Yes.
and having to learn how to like balance them all is pivotal. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you end up just crashing, right? And
Right.
so before we get into some of this podcast, I am really getting into like love stories. I don't know what it is. I want to hear the love story of like how you and your husband met.
Oh my gosh, this is one of those things. And it's funny because I love how he tells it because now let me just tell you, my husband and I, we are very opposite personalities. He is very life of the party, outgoing, makes everyone laugh. I mean, I have my moments too, but I'm more kind of like I'll say something quietly and only like the people who are next to me can hear me and they'll crack up because I'm just like, what?
I can
So
see that.
yeah,
I can
so
see that. I can see that.
you can see that, right? So that's how we are. So it's so funny how when people ask us to tell our story, we kind of both tell it because it's the same, but it's so different because he adds his personality. But we're both part of a military fraternity. He's in a military fraternity, and I was, part of the Sweetheart organization. So at the school that I went to, Morgan State University, Baltimore, Maryland, woo woo. We had our conference there one year, and he's originally from New Jersey, so he went to Norfolk State. And so to kind of like to make the long story short, we had our one of our annual conferences and my school was the host. So I knew a lot of his fraternity brothers. I was good friends with them. And so, of course, when I saw him, now mind you, I wasn't no saved. I wasn't nothing. I ain't know nothing, but I knew God, but that was it. So, I was like, oh, who's he? Cute, whatever. But because of my personality being the host, I was like, hey, you need anything? So I was being very hospitable. Hmm So, there was one, I think it was like that first evening, we were standing outside. Now the hotel, it was like a out, so I guess it's like a motel because that's the one where the rooms you got to go from the outside. It's not an inside, right?
I
Yeah.
think so, yes.
So we were standing downstairs, like out in the patio area, and we were just talking, just casual conversation, nothing. And all of a sudden, like all of these guys just came out of nowhere. And we were like what? So he said, well, let's go upstairs and talk. And there was like, the second floor, like balcony. I was like, all right, that's cool. So we're walking. He was like, after you, gonna go upstairs. This is the funniest thing, and this is where I love him telling this story because so I said, what did I say? I said, no, I'll walk beside you. I was like, because a woman's place is beside a man. And so now, mind you, he's in
Oh,
church. He's, and he like, look, he was like, what? I said, well, because, and he said, huh? I said, yeah, because if I'm in front of you, I can't see if you fall. And if I'm behind you, you can't see if I need help. And so we get to the top of the steps, and he's like, God, is this why you sent me down here? And now I mean, I knew God and I thought in my own way, I was like, okay, I have a relationship. So when I saw him do that, it didn't like freak me out or nothing. So then from there, he was like, his ears were open, like, okay, Lord, what is the real purpose? So after that, that was it. That for him, that was it. He was like, because he wasn't coming down looking for no woman. He actually had a girlfriend. He was in a relationship, but she wasn't very communicative. And he's a talker. He's a talker. He's a talker. So he needed someone who can communicate with him. But it like and the thing is, we didn't talk anything about God, about church or Jesus. So for me to say that the way I did, he was like, what's going on here?" So that's the quick and in short version of how we met.
nice. That is a beautiful story, but it leads me to ask another question because you said that his ears was open.
Yeah.
In your relationship, like, first of all, it's amazing to find a guy that brings you closer, like helps you come closer to Christ,
Oh yeah.
right? Because a lot of these guys out here ain't, baby, they not in the church, they're not in their Bible, they're not in their word, they're not in prayer, they ain't in nothing, right?
Nothing.
So I think that that is amazing. And from what you were telling me in your story, it sounds like was Steven a guy that helped you become like who you are in Christ or helped you lead you on?
Absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
I couldn't even get my question out. Chanel was like, yes.
I'm ain't no shame in my game. Yes, absolutely. Because as I mentioned, I growing up, I used to go to church and I thought like that was it. I'm like, oh, I'm a Christian. I go to church on Sundays and that's it. Like, so for me, he taught me about a relationship. He's like, okay, it's more to it than that. And it wasn't in a condemning or shameful type of way. He was like, no, it's about relationship. It's more than just going to church on Sunday. And so that right there was like, really? There's more to this? He was like, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it was
That
it was
sounds amazing. So one thing that I do see, I absolutely see through just like your content that you post and the conversations that you have, girl, in the one post, which I'll get to in a second, but I can absolutely see that like you love your husband, you're his cheerleader, his biggest supporter, that you adore him. And the post that I'm talking about, I was like firing Jenelle because I guess somebody had cut him off. I don't know what the situation was, girl, and you had posted something about let him talk, and I was like, well, Janelle about to go off somebody about her man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
Yes,
because he's one thing that I learned about him. He's a great listener. And he actually listens when people are talking. And one of the things, and this is that I learned over the years, one of the things that he does not like is when someone cuts him off while he's talking. And I've learned the point when I know, oh, he done checked out. Like, oh, forget it. Like, sometimes it depends on the people. I remember one, it was like some event at Outreach, and the person was talking to him, and it was about oh, well, why don't you partner with us and do something? And my husband was like, you can come, partner over. He was like, I'm not leaving my mandate. This is where I'm supposed to be. So they were talking, and it's so funny because I just sit there and I could see the point when my husband was like checked out because the guy just kept talking, kept talking. Usually, sometimes I'll get up, I'll be like, oh boy. Because I know now my husband, he's not the type to like to tell you off or anything like that. But when he realizes, like, okay, you know what? You're not listening no more. I'm not saying anything. And you don't want
no
that.
nonsense.
No, he is no nonsense. So when people like
Oh.
there have been people I've actually been like, let him talk. Please let him
See,
talk.
that's what the post was.
Yes.
Like, let him talk.
Let him talk because I can see it and I know and like I said, it's not like he's gonna, like lash out or anything, but when he sees, okay, you're not letting me talk anymore, it's like one of those sit back, like sometimes like, for children, when dad is like gets quiet, you're like, uh-oh, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? And then you just run through all of these scenarios in your head, and I'm like, just let him talk. Just please let him finish his sentence. And whatever you gotta say, go ahead. But let him talk.
Yeah, it's like you know your man and you know that they're not going to get the best of what he has to offer if they don't
Yeah.
let him speak. And
Yes.
so that's so good. He is very blessed to have you as a supporter and as well, sounds like you're very blessed to have him. So
Yes. Yes.
congratulations to both
Thank
of you.
you.
So you are a pastor and a co-founder of Triumph Ministries with your husband. And I see that you guys do a lot of outreach community work, which I think is so amazing. I used to do community work before she got pregnant and she
Mm,
had a baby. And it became a little bit difficult to kind of balance that in there. But I am excited to get back to the place where I can go back out and do community and outreach work. I
yeah.
want you to tell us a little bit about what your ministry does for the Triumph Ministries.
Yeah. So
Is
it's
it Triumph Ministries?
no, it's House of Triumph Outreach and
House of
Worship Center.
Triumph Ministries. Okay.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
going to say, I felt like I was saying that wrong.
Yes. No, it's okay. So it's funny because we are a very I guess like urban street ministry type and we literally started in our home actually. We had Bible study in our home, and one of the very first things, never forget it, we had something called Bible study barbecue on Good Friday. And that was like one of the first things. And
Nice.
people that we met on social media came to our house
Oh,
for this.
wow.
Yeah. Like, I mean, people who we only, communicated with online. We had someone from North Carolina come. We had people from New Jersey, and it was our first time meeting them. And it was just like so amazing. So we started the having Bible study in our home. And then, God was like, all right, y'all, let's look for the building. And we were like, what? Well, I was like, what? Because I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up to be, and that's a conversation that my husband and I had.
That's
Um,
just real talk.
yeah, and he was like, we were looking for a church, a building, and um, places that we found. They're like, we don't want a church, we don't want a church, and we're like, okay. So we I love telling this story because it's so funny. We found a storefront in the Kensington section of Philadelphia. And if anyone Googles Kensington, they'll be like, whoa. It's what I call the present day Sodom and Gomorrah so it's a lot of areas have kind of has gentrified a little bit, so it's gotten a little better, but it's a lot of prostitution, drug dealing, homelessness, all of that. And we knew nothing about that
Wow.
area. So,
Wow.
like, even watching the news, we didn't know anything until, we found someone. They're like, oh, yes, yes, we want church here. We want church here. We're like, okay, yeah, God, all right. Clueless. Signed the lease and everything. Everyone was like, what? Y'all in Kensington? We were like, what are you talking about? Turn on the news. Ever since then, it was like, oh, this happened in Kensington. And I'm like, really, God? Really? Like this what you doing to us? So we had for me, I had this mindset, like, okay, we got a church, so church was supposed to, we're supposed to have all these people. For like maybe the first year, 2 years, we were preaching to my son's toys. That's who our congregation was. And I mean, we would pack them up. It was every size Elmo was sitting in the chairs. We had Barney, we had Mickey Mouse, and they were who we were preaching to. And we preached as if they were real people. And
Man.
it was it was a moment my husband said to me, he was like, listen, he was like, I know you did not sign up for this. He was like, I know when we got married, there was nothing in the cards to say pastor's wife or anything. He was like, so he was like, I'm asking you right now. He was like, are you in with me on this? He was like, and if you say no, if you just want to, kind of hang out in the pew, he was like, that's fine. I'm not gonna leave you. He was like, but I just need to know where you are so that as this gets built, I know, okay, you know what? She's gonna be by my side, or she's just gonna be like, hey, baby, yay, you can do it. So I was like, we in this together. I was like, I mean, we in this so from that day, it's been because for me, especially because I didn't grow up in the church like that. So that's why he was, he put it out there like, listen, you didn't grow up in the church. This is not something that you signed up for, but it would be great if, you were really by my side in this. So we had that conversation, and we just been rocking out for 13 years ministry. Yeah, so we are a very outreach based ministry. We feed the community every Tuesday. So we do warm cooked dinner meals. When the pandemic hit, where everybody else shut down, our numbers doubled because we were the only ministry in the area that was feeding the community. So
Wow.
we used to have people come into this to church and sit down, and we would serve them and they would watch the message on the monitor. But when, the pandemic hit, everything got shut down. And I was like, babe, what are we gonna do? He was like, God didn't tell me to stop. He was like, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do what we do when someone doesn't want to stay. We're gonna pack up the meals and we're gonna just give them out as people walk by. So
Nice.
we had like the cones set up for the barriers. We were like, hey, you want something to eat? And, I was like, babe, it's 6:30. We're supposed to be here until 8. We're already out of food. I was like, why? Because we're the only ones feeding. So everybody was coming to us. And I was like, so we do that. We give out clothes once a month. And I mean, and it got to a point for me where I was like, okay, this is who we are. This we are outreach. And I think for me, when it shifted that way, that's just how I was really able to fully um dive in. And not to say that I wasn't, but as especially as a young ministry, you want people in the seats. You want to be preaching to people. You don't want to be preaching to your son every week. Not that anything is wrong with that, but you want the people. So I was just like, God, what's going on? He was like, just trust me. So I was like, all right. I said, okay, God, this is what you have called us to. We will be fully invested in this 100%, and this is how we will serve. So, yeah.
Wow. It's so funny. You like, God, you gonna do this to us? I think it's hilarious that God did not let you know a thing about the town. Baby, you didn't see nothing on the news until after the lease was signed, because if so,
Listen.
y'all probably would have ran like Jonah.
But you know what's funny? My husband, he has shared this recently that one time he was because he does rideshare, and one time he was driving and he was like, that place looks familiar. What is this? Come to find out, this same area that we are now in for ministry was the place that he used to go to get his drugs. So God, yeah, so God has sent him
Wow.
there to be the
Huh.
solution to what
Not
the
the
problem
full
that he had.
circle.
Right?
Not the full, okay, Apostle Stephen, not the full circle.
Okay.
I think that is amazing. And I also think that that can be so encouraging for a church that is trying to build up, because it is hard to build a church, especially in the 2000s. Like, it is
Yeah,
really hard to build a church. Nobody actually really wants to go to church. And I
right.
think it's so commendable of you guys that you kept pressing
Hmm.
during the pandemic, and he was like, God didn't tell me to stop. So y'all just
Right.
kept going. And baby, he just didn't know what he had, because he thought that you was gonna be like, okay, I'm up and out. You giving me to go ahead. You giving me to say so.
Right.
And I
Right.
think it's amazing. And Jenelle, baby, as he was talking, you are the Proverbs 31 wife. Like, what? Has anybody ever said that to you before?
No, they haven't.
Oh my gosh, you are the Proverbs 31
Wow.
wife. Like,
Wow.
wow. Like, you are somebody that is by your husband's side. You're out helping the community. You do what you got to do for your family. You do what you got to do for your church. You are a supporter. You are a cheerleader. Like, girl, you are the Proverbs 31 wife. So let's add that to your title,
Oh
Janelle the
Lord, oh
Proverbs
Lord.
wife. Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
But
And
I
what a
mean,
blessing it is.
it's funny because I guess thinking about it now, that kind of makes sense. But when you read about her, you kind of, or at least for me, I've just always had this thought when I see it. It's like, okay, well, I don't have that. I don't have a bunch of women who I can be like, hey, go do this, and they. So for you to spin it that way, it's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
But th- for me, I'm just doing what I guess God just wired within me. That's because I've just always been that supportive type, and I said to him, okay, I know I'm not leaving. It's not anything like that. I was like, but okay, if I don't do this, then what am I gonna do? That's kind of how it
Right.
was. If I don't help with this, then what am I gonna do? Like, no. So I
That's
said, I'm
amazing.
in this with you. We gonna make our mistakes together. We gonna, yeah.
Do this together. I think it was the first Fortified Wife Challenge that I did. I one of the days I talked to the ladies about looking at Proverbs 31, and seeing, like, going in there and looking to see like what you actually show up as and what you
Mhm.
need to work on. But when we look at the Proverbs 31 wife, we have to modernize it, because baby, ain't nobody going to the city selling no blankets and no
Listen,
linen, and like, we're not doing it. I'm sorry, we're just not doing it. But it doesn't mean that we don't do what we can to supply for our family. Like God has given us a skill
Right.
and we operate that skill to make sure that we're doing what we can to support our family, financially, physically, mentally,
Mhm.
emotionally, and not just our family, but also like I know that because you're out doing the outreach and you've met so many people, like a lot of people probably look up to you and adore what it is that you're doing for the community. And I was like, oh, hers is Proverbs wife. And I think that is absolutely amazing. I also saw that you did praise dancing, and I was like, okay, I used to teach praise dancing. So I don't, in 2018, we had a huge hurricane that came through here. It's Hurricane Michael. And Hurricane Michael took some of my girls that I used to teach praise dancing to. And then we had COVID, we had all of this stuff going on and all the in between. And so we lost a lot of our youth in church. So I have not been fully back into like the praise dancing. Every now and then, like I'll give my daughter a dance. And I'm thinking about making her do one for graduation because it's always been tradition in our church that whoever's on the praise dance
Mm,
team has a solo dance when they get ready to graduate.
okay.
But I thought that was so awesome that you did praise dancing because it's such a beautiful way to worship God. Do you still do it?
I haven't done it in a while just because as we age gracefully, the body kind of just,
Mhm, mhm.
has a mind of its
I don't have
own.
the oxygen in my lungs. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
Like I don't have the oxygen in my lungs to do it. I'm just gonna
Yes.
be so entirely honest.
My
But
knees sometimes be like, chill out, shorty, chill out.
you
So
can wave that flag, but
yes.
don't do a whole lot more.
And you know what? And that's actually been more for me, the flags.
Nice.
Just because even God, things that God has shown me, that flags, that's the ministry. Because even as I dance, when I pick up those flags, it's just something else. And he's like, that's where your praise is. And one of the things that my husband said to me one time, he was like, I know you wish that you could sing and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, you don't have to remind me what I can't do. Like, come on. He said, but babe, when you dance, you're singing your song. I was
Not all out.
really? So that even kind of shifted when I minister, like, okay, I'm singing my song. Like this is for you, Lord. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That
Hmm.
is very beautiful. And you're an advocate for autism. Where does
Yeah.
that come from?
So my son, he is on the autism spectrum.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. And he was
And it is, so
autism
it used to be
awareness.
autism awareness, but they changed it to like autism acceptance month.
Yeah. I still say
Okay.
awareness, but I've never been one to like really follow the rules. Oop,
All right.
strike that from the recording. No. But
Mm-mm, baby, everything that happens stays.
But no, so he was diagnosed when he was 5. Um, didn't really know what autism was, what it was. Thought that it was cute that he lined all the spoons up in a row. Thought it was cute that he lined all of the socks up in the stick, like little things. Until a couple people were like, "Hey, get him. You should get him tested. Because he spoke, but it was more like those type of things." So he was diagnosed, and it was like, now what? And for a while, I was like, okay, like what does this mean? And for me, it wasn't until I think that the best part for me was the acceptance that my husband had as well. Like when he was like, okay, this is what God has given Nazir, and he's given us Nazir. So obviously we're able to handle this. So he was so for because I know a lot of times, especially with fathers, with men, and it has to deal with their son because they have certain
Mhm.
things that they want their son to do and all of that. So when he was like, okay, you know what? My son has autism. That's fine. Let's learn as much as, he was like, let me learn as much as I can about it. Let me see how to um raise him and teach him in a way that he'll be able to understand. So once we were able to get that together, yeah, but so he's been on the autism spectrum, and we've been very vocal about our journey. And that's one of the things, even like another component of ministry, not that we necessarily, you know, single it out, but people know that, like, okay, I joke one time, we joked, because Nazir was like always with us, and that's because we can't trust, we couldn't trust everyone with him. One, because we didn't know a lot of people, and two, because of autism, it's like, okay, there's certain things we can't just trust him with everyone. And so we used to have this joke, be like, okay, when y'all see us three, you see Father, Son, Holy Spirit, like, it was like we were always together. But we just were very vocal about it. And so a couple of good friends of mine who were photographers, she had reached out to me. She was like, she works with the Philadelphia Eagles, and she was like, hey, this is when they first started the Eagles autism, the division that they have. And they were like, they're looking for some parents who have children. So well, of course, favor, because of them, they came to our house one day, and they kind of just like filmed us talking about Nazir, what it's like, especially as pastors, having a
Mhm.
church with a son on the autism spectrum. Like, what's that like in the middle of Sunday service? You have a meltdown because of whatever. And so, we were able to just share that journey. We were able to be a part of the Eagle Autism Huddle, just different things. And we've been vocal about autism, in so much so that people, would like slide in our DMs and be like, hey, got a question about autism. And we're like, okay, what's up? Because, we're like, this is part of our life. And one time we were like, God, why us? And God was like, why not y'all? We were like, oh, excuse us, sir. Okay. I was like, all right,
I
so
was just about to
since
ask
this is
you.
your doing, let us know what to do. So we've been, whenever we've had challenges, we're like, all right, Lord, you see this challenge, what do we do? So
I was just about to ask you, has it ever tested your faith in as far as like how to deal with like certain situations? First of all, I think that's hilarious. You could probably delve into that a little bit. You don't have to, but the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, because I feel like the roles probably fit very well, don't they? I feel like I feel like the roles probably fit very, very well. And so when you said that, I was kind of giggling because I was like, "Ha, I bet that fits very, very well." But um, I actually have another lady who I invited to be on the podcast. I don't know if she's going to make it before the month is out, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. And she has two sons on the spectrum. And one thing I've had one of my kids tested, and one thing that I've learned is that man, they say spectrum because it's really a spectrum. Like there's minimal and then there's severe and everything in between. And so when I took my son, they was like, they said I'm not saying he doesn't have a little bit of it, but
yeah.
it wasn't enough to like fully diagnose it. But she he just exhibited some of the symptoms. And
Hmm.
she has two sons, and one of her sons has severe, and she's done such an amazing job with like teaching him, and
Yeah.
she's been so patient with him. And for me, it's something that I really admire. I think like situations sometimes bring out the best in you. Like it makes you really step up to the plate and show what God can do through you. And so for me, I truly admire like what she has done and what she has experienced. And so for you to say that people reach out to you and ask you for your opinion and hey, help on this situation, I can definitely see you've probably been a big help to a lot of people concerning that situation.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's one other thing. Like my mom was a teacher, so I kind of had that advocacy in me because she was one who would advocate. So even that aspect, advocating for his education, making sure he has things. So yeah, that's been a big part as well.
Nice. And so the development process, and I know a little bit about autism, but they always say that autistic kids are incredibly smart. They just have a hard time with
Oh my
classes why they
God.
get so bored because like they're like,
Yes.
okay, I'm done with this. Let me move on to the next thing. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And I know we just talked about our kids graduating school. You don't have to tell us what his after school plans are, but have you guys like sat down? Like, is he able to like move out and go away and do whatever to the point where like you're comfortable with it? Is your mommy heart comfortable? Like, he can probably do it, but is your mommy heart okay
So
with it?
so to be honest, no, he's not ready for that yet. He's, we like and this is the beautiful thing. We're very transparent with him. We talk to him and we sit down. We're like, "Hey, bud, you're graduating school. What would you like to do? Because we got our what we want to do. Like, you could do this." So, we asked him, we're like, "Would you like to go to college?" He's like, "No, I don't think so." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And I said to him, and my husband and I both were like, "Okay, but you ain't gonna be staying home all day doing nothing." So that's the little joke. But we're like, okay, well, let's think of some things that you can do. So just small things that we're showing him. We're teaching him. He has said that he would like to get a job. We're like, okay, let's look at something. We know that there are certain places that do hire children on the spectrum, like certain, even some of the stores, they hire them in the back room because organization is their jam. So to
Oh,
have
is he like like
stocking
he
the
likes to organize stuff? Can you send them to my house for a little bit? I don't.
right. Now as a teenager, he's kind of like, but before when he was younger, oh, what? But like, here, Nazir, do this. Put everything. I mean, he still kind of
Oh
has
wow,
that aspect to him, but he's typical teenager. He's like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
thanks. That's beautiful. I absolutely love that. And love how you've learned to just like just embrace every single thing about him because a lot of people have a hard time doing it. And I love that you said that your husband did too, because girl, you ain't lying.
Yeah.
Some of these fathers will run out, abandon, not, and it's really, really sad to hear those stories.
Mhm.
Of fathers who choose not to be like all in a child's
Right.
life because the child's not the way that they desire for that child to be, but that
Right.
child is amazing
Yeah.
and they love hard. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think love from a child is so precious and that's just
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. So listen, here's what I'm thinking.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna part two this because
Okay.
we ain't even got into like some of the other stuff that I kind of wanted to talk about, and I don't want this episode to go super, super long.
Okay.
So if you're good with part two in this, we're going to do this. You good with that?
Yes. Yes, I'm
All right, Kingdom
fine.
Wife Mom
Yes.
Boss. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We are going to part two this, so we're going to have Jenelle back again on the next episode of Kingdom Wife Mom Boss as we get into the rest of Jenelle and Janelle's world and what Janelle does. And I'm super excited for you to meet us at that place. All right. Make sure that you stay tuned. Make sure that you're getting notifications and that you understand everything that's going on. All right. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.